Hey BookTube, it's Charlie from Reader Turned Writer, and today I'm doing a book review of Write Your Novel from the Middle by James Scott Bell. If you are new here, welcome, and if not, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here at my channel. I really appreciate you being here, and I'm excited to talk with you about this book today. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button and to subscribe to my channel for lots of other bookish content. So this is obviously a writing craft book about writing a novel. My goal has been recently to read one writing craft book a month to try and read all of the great ones that everybody always recommends, and my favorite is still Save the Cat, but I'll link the playlist down below for some of my other reviews. I haven't looked at Save the Cat yet. I read Save the Cat kind of before I got back onto YouTube when I was kind of taking a break from it. But I have read and reviewed quite a few other self-help books and other writing books, and I'll link down to those down below. Now, this is a really short book. I didn't actually realize when I bought this book how short it was. I don't think that would have deterred me from buying it. It just surprised me when it came in the mail. I was recommended it by someone on one of my other reviews for a writing craft book, and it sounded like a really good one. Write Your Novel from the Middle sounded like an interesting title to me, and so I decided to buy it, and it came really quickly, and I read it really quickly. I read it in one morning. The meat of the book is obviously about the middle of a novel, and he didn't actually get into that until about page 22, and that's really where the book started for me. So just to give you kind of reference of how much that is. So this is when he starts talking about the midpoint is here, and all of the stuff before that didn't really feel like the book to me yet. It was all kind of introductory stuff. Kind of to recap the main idea of what he talks about in this book, he identifies a moment at the midpoint, and he calls it the look in the mirror moment. So he posits that the midpoint is where your character looks kind of within themselves to determine what kind of person they are and what kind of person they are becoming throughout the book. Or if it's not a character arc driven book, if it's more of a plot book, the character could be looking at what kinds of odds they're facing. It kind of depends on the arc and the focus of your book. Because it is a character point rather than just a plot point, it is really focused on the character, the midpoint, and it's really where the character is facing the decision of what kind of character they want to become. It's kind of like they're almost a moment of truth type deal, but it's really inwardly focused. He does say that the midpoint is not a scene, but it's actually a specific moment within the midpoint scene. He says that's why it's a magic moment, and that's a keyword, moment. The true midpoint is not a scene, it's a moment within a scene. It's like the Earth's core, the true center. Find it in your novel and everything will radiate from it. Once he explains this insight, which I did actually find really interesting and helpful, kind of an addition to some of the story structure that I have learned in the past. Afterwards, he explains his method for how you would then outline or come up with your story, or whether you're writing as a pantser or plotting it, how you would come up with the story using the midpoint. And obviously you start with the midpoint, right? Write your novel from the middle, it's in the title. Basically, he has you use your character's mirror moment to help you discover what their character arc is. And then you can then look back at Act 1 and you can look forward at Act 3 and kind of fill in the rest of the character arc depending on the mirror moment. So what he really uses the middle of the book for is discovering what the character arc is and get to the meat of your character's growth throughout the book. It was an interesting concept and I did enjoy learning about it. However, I'm not sure it warranted a full book. Like I said before, he didn't actually get into it until page 22, and then when him actually talking about the middle of the book was rather short as well. To help make the book longer, which again, it's not long still, but to help kind of pad the book, like I said, he talked about other things at the beginning of the book, where he talks about things like the death that your character faces, like physical or emotional or career death, that it's really important for your character to face a death. A good concept and one that I have heard about before. I just didn't really see how it was very connected to the middle of the book concept. If he had wanted to write a book about character arc, then maybe, but he didn't really focus on character arc a whole lot other than to put a couple things in at the beginning, including he talked about the catalyst or the inciting incident, and also the all is lost and kind of dark night of the soul moments in your character arc at the beginning of the book, only he gave them different names. He called them the doorway of no return and the doorway of no return 2, which I'm not really a fan of those terms. I think that catalyst or inciting incident and all is lost are much better terms for what the plot points are, or character arc plot points are. And again, it was only loosely related to the bulk, the meat of the book. And then after he finishes talking about the mirror moment and his method for using that to write the book, he goes on to have different chapters that feel a little bit random about just, I was trying to see if I could find where he finishes talking about the main point. He does give some examples in here of the middle of the book, which were good. The examples were good. So I think he stops on page 52. So it's about 30 pages, and you can see the pages they're not like, try and give you some without a glare. They're not like densely populated. They're fairly, bigger text with lots of space and some visuals and different things. Not that it wasn't useful to have visuals or anything, it was just not very much content in the middle of the book, I guess is my point here. And I think that's the main drawback of the book for me, is that there was not very much content that actually had to do with his title, and then to pad it, even with this much, I don't know that, like, if it had actually been all of this about the middle of the book, maybe it would have been worth it, but the end of it was just kind of random writing topics, like brainstorming or having a writing habit or showing versus telling, really basic beginner things that I've already gotten other places. And it honestly felt like he maybe had a writing blog, and he was like, oh, this is a really good concept, I'll write a book about it, and then stuck some blog posts of his at the end because it wasn't long enough to actually be a book, because the meat of the content really would have been better suited to a blog style format, or even a YouTube video style format. Something short and sweet that people can come, read, and then leave, where I really don't think that it was, the amount of material that he had was worthy of a book, although the concept is a good one. And this video will be short because it is a short book, so there's not a whole lot to say about it, but basically overall, I've already said this, but I'll just reiterate, I liked the concept, I found it useful and helpful, and I'm glad that I read the book. I will probably keep the book because I already own it. And if you're interested in learning more about this concept, I don't think it would be bad to buy the book. I don't think it was expensive, and because it's such a short read, it's not going to be a waste of time or anything like that. I just didn't feel that it actually warranted a book, and I would rather have gotten this information through a blog post or YouTube video rather than buying and reading a book, especially with some of the filler, that the stuff at the beginning, not that it's not useful, but it's stuff that I already know, and the stuff at the end is really basic. I think pretty much everybody already knows the stuff that he talks about at the end of the book, despite the middle being very unique to him. I also haven't actually tested to see if I can find mirror moments like in the middle of movies or books, and I want to do that now because that's something that I do enjoy doing when I read self-help books. I love to go and try and find those things in books that have been published and have done well. That's one of my favorite parts of Save the Cat, actually, has been finding all of the different beats and seeing if they could have done them better or not, and seeing where sometimes I feel like there's a problem, and as I look closer I realize that they maybe didn't execute well on the beat, or maybe the beats weren't even there. So it's just interesting, and I'm excited to go apply this knowledge now that I have learned it. I would love to hear about your favorite writing craft book in the comments below. I'm always looking for new craft books to read, and if you have one that you highly recommend, I could try to get to it sooner rather than later. I do have quite a list growing of craft books that I think look really interesting or really helpful. If you liked this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe for lots of writing and reading content. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video.